What's good, people? There's ROCKSTEADY, King of the Pit TV, signing out on this one. We just listened to this Godless Endeavour by the band Nevermore. It was recommended on Patreon by a friend of mine, a very new friend of mine, Extreme Aggression 22, who joined the Patreon as of recent, and I much definitely appreciate the fact you did, dude, because he put me onto Nevermore, right? We listened to a prior album by this band, 2000 record. It was regarding Hearts. Now, indirect criticism here. I feel like long-winded titles don't really work too well, like just from a branding standpoint, purely as they're a little more forgettable than shorter titled songs, snappier titled songs, because I couldn't really tell you word for word what that last album was, but if you're a Nevermore fan, you know what one I'm referencing. So we listened to that as the last album we listened to, and then we moved on to this one, 2005, 5 years later, to see where they developed from here. So as much as I want to rate and rank and talk about this record, I have to somewhat relate it to my experience with the last record. It just is what it is. I'm going to try to give it a unique rating, but you know, the rating I gave the last record is going to have an effect on how I've rated this one, because I'm going to have to compare and contrast. Now, on the listening of the last record, I did say I do wonder how this band develops, because I felt there's definitely space for improvement and development on the last record. So it was great to have the opportunity to listen to this record and see some degree of development. The production's better. There's a pretty good production on this record. The guitar tones are better, like the rhythm tones are better. The vocal performance is good. We're erring in numerous parts on this record into a more death metal-esque approach, as opposed to like the alternate metal, gothic borderline, heavy metal vocal line we just had from top to bottom in the last record. I mean, we still do have it here. It is present throughout more than half the record, but there's a few tracks on here which are definitely to some degree death metal influenced, from the riffing to the vocal approach. A little more crunch on the vocal, a little more attack and harshness on that vocal. And me personally, I think that's where this band should be 100% of their time on this record. I think it outweighs the quality of the more ballad-esque writing they put forth, which, you know, each to their own. I'm sure people really love that, but for me, I want to hear the riffs as opposed to the storytelling and the lyrical songwriting personally. And I feel it only makes sense because when you've got Loomis, who's just shredding the crackers off of this flipping fretboard, I want to hear some degree of alignment with the rhythm section, with the riffs, with the rhythm guitars, because we can't dull these guitars down to merely open power chords playing, you know, at lower tempos in a minimalistic fashion, and then have this reoccurring shred guitar solo, like this overt crazy virtuoso solo. Even though it does serve good as contrast, it's just, it shows that the riffs could be a bit better, could be a bit more investment. And this is a personal issue I have with bands that have great virtuoso musicians in. It makes it feel like the rest of the band serve as session musicians and merely a backdrop to allow the, you know, main feature of the band show off. And so it detracts from the band as a whole and just sort of, you know, diminishes the value as such. And we want to hear a cohesive band. We want to hear a full act where everybody's doing something great and it's a great soundscape full. Now, guitarist being spoken on, Jeff Loomis, definitely at this point, I feel, like, don't get me wrong, great solos in the last record we listened to, but in this one in particular, it feels like Loomis is just like, right, we've got to make a business out of this. I don't know how long he had been established as a great guitarist up until this point, but most definitely at this point, he's like, I've got to make a flipping brand out of this. I've got to be known as the Shredmeister, because the shred has been toned up a notch. Great writing, great performance. It shreds so tasteful, I wouldn't call it for the most part. I'm not a big fan of shred, but it's clean, precise, and with all due respect, it's robotic, right? It's void of emotion. This is shred. It's void of like soul. It's just tight and fast and precise and an incredible experience to the ears. It's exciting to listen to see where he goes next. Fucking hell, how fast is he playing and all that? So that's cool. That is cool. I would rate this record 0.5 more than the other one. Why not 1 point more than the other? Do you know why? Because I know this band's going to improve even more from here. This is a band I can't see going downhill. I think they're only going to improve, personally. I hope they err a little more into this death metal adjacent stuff in the future records, but you know, as you get older and stuff, you think, fuck it, we don't want to do that. We want to branch out, market a little bit more, sell out a little bit more. So they might actually go a little softer. But it's fascinating to think. That was my review. I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.